Hello. Today I received an interesting question asking me my opinion about e-collars and what e-collars are. E-collar is basically a set of transmitter and a receiver. The transmitter is in the hand of the human and the receiver is attached to the neck of the dog. More often than not, there are two buttons in the transmitter, and one is called as a nick, the other one is called constant stimulation, right? So when you hit the nick button, there is a shock administered to the neck of the dog, and when you hit the constant stimulation button, there is a constant shock administered to the neck of the dog. So this is what an e-collar is. So I have two e-collars, okay, and I have two transmitters, of course, and I have not even charged them for the past 7 years. So they are just lying there, and someone asked me to sell my e-collar to them, and I did not have the heart to sell my e-collar. So, and of course, I want to make something very clear. I am neither pro e-collar nor am I anti e-collar, okay, because e-collar is just a tool, and tools are required to solve specific problems, and each tool has an advantage and a disadvantage, and before you use the tool you have to understand what the tool will do and what the tool will not do, and what are the problems that the tool will create in the process of you trying to solve the problem at hand. Okay, so what does the e-collar achieve? E-collar basically, they say it communicates with the dog and all that. It is a punishing tool, and I have nothing against punishment. Okay, so punishment and reward, they are all they exist whether I like it or not. They exist in reality and they serve some purpose, but just from a purely what academic standpoint, if you look at what punishment does, punishment can only stop behavior, punishment cannot create behavior, right? So you can't punish a child to sing Carnatic music, or to learn the seventh multiplication table. You cannot punish a child into learning that. You can punish a child to stop the child from watching the TV or from fidgeting and all that. Of course, that punishment has some side effects unless you understand, leave alone the ethical aspect of it and all that. Just from a purely cost benefit analysis, punishment has some side effects, right? So as I grew as a trainer, and as I became older and I understood what was more important in life, I realized that the e-collar was not of much use to me. Of course, I got it because I got it, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago, because it was a cool thing to have, right? All the the professionals seem to have it, so I'd like to have a couple too, because it's cool. But then I realized that I did not have much use for it, because my dogs were not so hard, and you have to have a certain level of crazy motivation for the dog to work through that punishment, or else what will happen is the dog will freeze if you use an e-collar on the dog. And even when you punish the dog will mentally disengage, but at least the dog knows that the punishment is coming from you, because there is that physical connection. With an e-collar, you have to, it's a very let me put it this way, e-collars need to be used by experts on only specific dogs, and I'm yet to see any dog that really needs an e-collar to exist, okay, to exist as a pet. Of course, it is needed if you are into mondioring and all that, and in India we don't have that, we don't have the dogs. And even assuming that, I know I'm going to say something very blasphemous, maybe a few of you will leave my channel, but just like how bulldogs and pugs are physically deformed to satisfy the human perversion for some physical appearance, these working dogs, some of the working dogs in those ring sports and all that, I feel they are mentally abnormal. That level of drive and that level of intensity, I don't know, I would not want to have a dog like that. Just like how you can physically deform a dog, those dogs in my opinion, in my humble opinion, they are mentally deformed. But that is again to satisfy some human perversion for a beautifully performing dog. When you look at the way the dog runs and jumps and bites and all that, you want to clap your hands and all that. It's like a gladiator performing for you. But I don't think it's good for the dog or the human in the long run. So now coming back to what this e-collar is. E-collar is a punishment tool. Now if a trainer says that an e-collar is really bad, then I'll take it with a pinch of salt. It's like a surgeon saying that the scalpel is bad. But just because I have the scalpel, I cannot cut open everybody, right? That is the problem with most of us. When we have a tool, we tend to use the tool for everything because we have the tool. So, there is an old adage that says that if all you have is a hammer, every problem resembles a nail. So, when someone has a punishing tool that they have purchased for 10,000 rupees, they want to use it. And now they'll try to train their dog through punishment, and it's, leave alone the ethical aspect of it, just scientifically it doesn't work. So, in horse training, they say that the fastest way to train a horse is the slowest way. So, when you train a dog, you can get some quick results if you increase punishment and if you introduce pressure and all that. The dog will sit in 2 minutes, or the dog will perform in 5 minutes, whatever. It will learn to retrieve in 3 days if you do a forced retrieve and all that. Retrieve, oh God, someone was giving me a lesson saying that my English teacher failed to teach me how to pronounce retrieve. Okay, so I said retrieve, I apologize. I have some crazy viewers on YouTube. But the side effects that this punishment creates is not what I want for my dogs. So when I use punishment on my dogs, I get some cost and I get some benefits. When I compare the cost and benefit, the cost is way more than the benefits that I can derive. So when I realized that, I stopped using the e-collar, and I don't have such hard dogs like some Czechoslovakian working line German Shepherds, or some crazy dog. I do not have them. So I really don't need those tools, and most of our dogs do not need those tools. Of course, if I have a crazy dog like a 60 kilogram Rottweiler or a 70 kilogram Rottweiler that is an adult and that is trying to bite the owner and all that, I may be tempted to use it temporarily because I have to stop that violence somehow or the other. But I have to understand that by using that, I have introduced more problems into the dog. So it is always better to go for the slow method and not use punishment. So I hope that this was not a rant about something else other than the e-collar, but e-collars in general are not needed. They are quite, what shall I say, they develop some laziness, mental laziness in the trainer. So, I have them, but I don't use them. I don't teach my students to use e-collars unless the dog is attacking you and all that, temporarily to stop your dog from. But if your dog is attacking you, there are 5,000 things wrong. Babe, things are those. If your dog is attacking you, then e-collar will not fix anything. E-collar may stop your dog from attacking you at that moment, but there is something that is really wrong with you and your dog. So e-collar is most of the times, in 99.999% of the situations, it is useless. So that is my opinion about e-collars. Take it or leave it. And thank you for the question. That was an interesting question, and I hope you will ask such questions that can elicit some debate and discussion. Thank you.